Hello, everyone in the Pharmacy Freedom Method community and on my LinkedIn, because I'm hoping that you guys can see me on this very first LinkedIn Live that I am doing on my LinkedIn page. So hello. If you are joining me live, then say hello in the chat. Let me know where you are watching from. It's my pleasure to have you here today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Komal. I am a former national level pharmacist turned pharmacy career change coach. I'm also the founder of a turmeric supplement brand called Amala Pure Health. And I'm so passionate about helping pharmacists and pharmacy colleagues to really get out of that place of being stuck and overwhelmed and just feeling like you don't know which direction to go in, and helping you to find clarity and purpose and really become fulfilled in your careers again and your lives. Hello, my friends on LinkedIn. Hi, Amrit. Hi, Lise. Lovely to have you guys join us. If you are joining, do say hi in the comments. This is my very first series of 2021, which is called the Happy Healthcare Professional Series. And it's really a series to inspire you in terms of your career. And it's going to be a series of interviews that I'm going to be having with some really inspirational pharmacists and other healthcare professionals. And I am so excited to bring to you an amazing colleague. We've connected recently, and she's just amazing. She's so early in her career, but she's very inspirational. Hello to everyone that's joining us. This is so exciting. Salisbury, Wiltshire here. Hello. If you're joining us on Facebook, by the way, you do need to allow Facebook your Facebook profile access to StreamYard. So you should see a link when you go onto the live, so I can actually see your names, because otherwise I can't see people's names. But I will go back if you will be joining us from the Pharmacy Freedom Method community. So if you are joining us from there, I will be going back and saying hello to you guys later on. But without further ado, I am going to introduce you to Nabila, Dr. Nabila Ismail. She is such an amazing pharmacist. She's a pharmacist from the US. She graduated in 2019. And she has created such a unique career for herself in such an early stage of her career. She is actually a content and engagement manager for a digital health tech company called GoodRx. So I'm going to bring her on here now. Hello.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for the warm welcome. Those were such nice words.
Oh,
I'm really excited to be here.
It's so lovely to have you here. I mean, I love connecting with pharmacists from all over the world. And what I loved about you, Nabila, when we connected was actually I connected with you through Instagram, didn't I? Like, you've got
Yes.
this amazing Instagram page called Dose of Travel. And I was just so inspired by all of the amazing places that you've been traveling to. And I just thought, I've got to know more about this woman. And that's really how we kind of connected, didn't we? So tell us about your journey of pharmacy so far.
Oh man, where to start? It feels like so long ago. I started my pharmacy journey 8 years ago. So I did my 3 years of undergrad, and then I continued on to pharmacy school directly, like right out of the 3 years, all at the same uni in upstate New York. I went to University at Buffalo, and actually the whole Instagram that you're talking about kind of started before pharmacy school. It started off as a little fashion blog because I was going into heavy sciences and wanted a creative outlet. And then after my first year of pharmacy school, it turned into Dose of Travel, which is what it is now, which is a mix of travel that I started doing as a way to escape school and the pressures and just to see the world, and a combination of pharmacy. And so in 2019, I graduated the School of Pharmacy at University of Buffalo, and I started my career as a retail pharmacist in Los Angeles. And a year later, I now work for GoodRx, like we just talked about. So I've, done a little bit of like social media, retail pharmacy. So it's been a really great mix, and to see what's capable out there with like your PharmD.
Yeah, that's just amazing. I love the fact that you mentioned that you wanted to have a creative outlet. I think that's just such an important part of us as humans. Like, first and foremost, I think it's such an important part of us as humans. And I feel that in the healthcare professional space, we can often neglect our creative side, right?
Absolutely. I think I need to exercise both parts of my brain, to be honest. There isn't a way for me to just do complete science. Like, I need to be able to have a creative outlet. And I strongly believe that you shouldn't have to be just one way or in one line of thinking. Like, whether it's analytical or logistical, it should be a little bit of everything. And so I think people are realizing that it's okay to like be a scientist or be in healthcare, but then also have something else that you like that's totally unaligned. So I totally agree that creativity is very much needed, especially with what we're going through right now. Like, you have to be creative in the way to keep up with your mental health, to stay entertained. I think it's just so big right now on top of everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you touched upon the importance of it in terms of our mental health. I couldn't agree more. I think for me in my career, I kind of neglected my creative side for such a long time that it kind of came to a bit of a head when, when I ended up in my maternity leave, and I was like, there's this entire side of me that I really am not, utilizing and using and kind of having an outlet for. And I suppose in a way that kind of was what led me to creating my turmeric brand, because when I got involved in the creative side of that, I was like, wow, I love this. I could finally kind of marry my pharmacy skills and my creative side together. And I just love the fact that you've recognized this at such an early stage in your career and you've harnessed that. That's just the most amazing thing about it, I think.
It doesn't feel so early. So I know that I only graduated in 2019, but during those years, I found it to be really hard to actually figure out that there was a path to combine both. And I didn't actually know I was doing it or onto something until other people started saying something. So it's almost kind of like it just came out naturally, but I didn't even see myself as being creative or see myself doing anything out of the box. I think that kind of happens when you go down such a like hard science route that you kind of lose sight of like what you're like doing and kind of minimize almost everything that you're doing that doesn't really align. And so thank you for saying that I like have done it at such a young age, but it felt like it was something I struggled with for a really long time.
Yeah, no, I totally hear that because, when you go into pharmacy school and you're studying at university, it's all so science focused, right? And it has to be because, we've got to learn the basics of how to be a pharmacist, right? Exactly. And, we've got to learn, how drugs work and all of those really interesting science-based theories and everything. We've got to learn all of those. But but at the same time, we've got to recognize that creative side of us has got to be nurtured too, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you got it. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Parminder saying, no, it's not. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, Parminder, about, how you feel like, why you believe it's not. I'd love to know more about what you think.
Yeah.
So tell us about how good your kind of role at GoodRx came about.
Yeah, so I guess I was an early pharmacist. So like I said, in 2019, I graduated in New York. I packed up all my belongings and I knew I had the travel bug and knew that obviously I had to settle down to have a job and couldn't be traveling. And in the US, you get like 2 weeks to travel. And so I decided to move to Los Angeles from New York, drove my car out decided to pursue retail pharmacy because I had already been working in retail as an intern. It was something I knew, I understood, I got to use my degree and my knowledge, and I decided to go with that. Only a lot of it had to do with me not knowing what else was out there, so it was a good stepping stone. And I figured if I relocated to a city that was cosmopolitan, but also more creative, had a lot of startup culture, but also the weather was way nicer and inspiring in a sense. I couldn't handle the snow anymore. And so I think getting to LA and starting my retail pharmacy job and networking is really how I ended up at GoodRx. I worked through the pandemic as a retail pharmacist in a new city, recently licensed. I had a huge setback in terms of licensure. So I had a lot of things holding me back. And then when I finally started practicing, I started to realize and see my retail pharmacy career as not as something that held me back, which I think a lot of retail pharmacists or community pharmacists see it as. I started to see what I was learning from there and what I liked and what I didn't like about that role. And then I just put it into action. I started going onto LinkedIn. I started posting consistently on my social media platform, writing for my blog, doing the things I liked. And I kind of just stumbled upon that role, to be honest. I found it online. A friend sent it to me, and it wasn't looking for a pharmacist particularly. It wasn't you must have a minimum requirement PharmD. I researched the company. I'd already used the product at work. I'd understood it. I believed in it. And I just applied, but I used my hobbies and my interest and my side hustle is what everyone calls it these days as leverage or proof or evidence of this is what I like to do, this is what I've been doing, this is how I've been doing it. And so I just gradually married the two things I liked and ended up there, and it's been a wonderful journey.
Amazing. I think it's such an inspiration that you have been able to successfully marry up things that you love. And PharmD said about legal and ethical implications of what we do as pharmacists, right? That's fundamentally core to everything that we do, right?
Yes.
We can't get away from the legal and ethical side of our of our profession. So how do you view that?
Well, I mean, I think pharmacists have consistently ranked as the most trusted healthcare professionals. And when we go into pharmacy school, we say the oath and we very well know what we're signing up for. And arguably that's kind of why we go into the profession, is because we want to be a trusted, reliable source for information. But also for me, it was more about accessibility and being able to have patients come to me as they want. And I still believe that those aspects have not changed in my new role. So while I'm a content and engagement manager, I help create content and spread health information that's accurate and trusted and using evidence-based if it's clinical. But I think that's really what makes us so special and unique, is because we're the only healthcare professional that you can step foot into, ask questions, and we've obviously studied so long for it. We know what we're doing, but also we have we've got board certified, we have our liability insurance. We don't take it lightly. And we don't take it lightly. That's all I have to say, is that every pharmacist has put way too much on the line to do something ethical or something that might just not be right.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I actually think that we can successfully marry our legal and ethical responsibilities with the things that we enjoy doing. And you've proven that with your role ultimately, and you've just demonstrated just how we can be so much a part of the movement and the changes that are happening in healthcare, right? So there are so many, I see so many companies popping up who are producing all kinds of products and goods and services and supplements and all these kinds of things that really don't have a qualified healthcare professional behind them, right? And
Yes.
I feel very much
so true.
I feel very much of the ilk that we need to be behind them. If you want to there's just no excuse now for somebody to come into the market with something that is health and well-being focused and not have a healthcare professional behind it. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I just feel like that this is the time that pharmacists can also show that they can be accessible and valuable, even on like online communities or social media, where like the Public Health Association has literally like said that like misinformation, like health misinformation, is like going to be like another pandemic, because anyone and everyone can say what they want and when they want, but we don't have like, it is our job to step foot into companies that might be catering to a health and wellness space, have a licensed medical professional, but also in terms of content, like it should be upon us to be fixing any false information that's out there, correcting people, or like willing to step up and like, hey, like if you have any questions, feel free to ask me here. Kind of like the same way you would say at the pharmacy counter. It's a really interesting time to be a healthcare professional, and I feel like it's so involving, whether it's at your day job in the clinic or in the pharmacy, or whether it's like online if you have a social media presence, or within your community.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Parminder is asking about which companies and stuff. I would love to continue the conversation with you, Parminder, about this, because I think it's so important for us to actually open up this conversation amongst pharmacists, you know, to say, you know, we can step into these places and these areas within health, you know, well-being, whether it's, you know, and actually start and provide huge value because of our experience and because of our knowledge and because of our ethical standards, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I'm doing on Dose of Travel. Like I want to inspire other pharmacists that there's so many different approaches and like niches that pharmacists can really like play a factor. Like it doesn't have to be in the traditional sense. Like things are changing, and so we should grow with what's happening in the industry and find ways to utilize and adapt our skills into these new industries. So exactly, I actually hosted a happy hour event last week for pharmacists. Haven't tapped into the UK like pharmacy group too much, but it was for the US, but all are welcome. So the next one, we chat about all these different things. So I definitely love what you're doing, and we definitely have the same vision.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I wholeheartedly believe that pharmacists don't have to stick to the traditional routes if they don't want to, right?
Exactly.
That we can create so many amazing and interesting careers for ourselves. My philosophy is that we have to start with what's important to us as individuals, as people, as human beings. Like, what is important to us? What is our individual why? Like, why did I become a pharmacist in the first place? What is it that I want to achieve in my life? And marry that up with what do I really love doing? And, you know, you can create such an incredible career for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I think the internal work is so important and sticking to it. So for me, I talked to so many people. I started networking all the time, but
Yeah.
I really didn't know what I wanted. And whenever I talked to people, they almost always were like, you have to choose. And I was like, I don't think I should have to choose between social media and pharmacy. And I know they don't make logical sense. Like when you go down like a checklist, like you don't go from pharmacy to social media. They're quite different. And I just kept saying it and believing that I wanted to be doing content creation and pharmacy. Didn't want to let go of my degree that I studied so long and hard for, but then also something that really like sparked my soul. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is figuring out your why, but sticking to it and not letting anyone discourage you or maybe like sway you another way. So 100% agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Parminder is saying that regulators, MHR and FDA, I have a working experience with. Please be careful with the grey lines you're discussing. So, you know, it's interesting because, you know, I don't see how us as pharmacists, we can't be part of the bigger conversation that people are having around health and well-being.
Yeah, I don't see that there's any harm in questioning and seeing what we can do that's different. I mean, obviously we'll remain ethical and follow guidelines, but there's so many things that we can still do that people are doing. There are other pharmacists who consult for health and wellness companies, that write, that work in industry. These are all things that traditionally wouldn't have made sense. And so I'm not saying to do anything out of like your scope or what you're professionally able to do. And obviously you should follow all guidelines. But I'm talking about more of the careers that we know exist but are not high in numbers. Like they're kind of hard to come by. Like for example, the content engagement manager role or social media manager or podcasting or like what you're doing, career change coach. Like those are all things within our scope that we can be doing as long as we take proper precautions.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, in my line of work, the whole point of it is to help people to figure out what it is that they want to do and help them to get there. Right.
And how they can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And how they can do it. Absolutely. And, you know, and I definitely see that as a growing area because, you know, pharmacists want to create their own niches. They might want to also create their own portfolio careers. There's so many different options out there. And I actually believe that when you expand your breadth of experience, that makes you a better pharmacist. Like from my own experience, kind of stepping away from pharmacy and creating my own, you know, turmeric supplement, actually, you know, in the startup space, so to speak, actually taught me a lot about who and what I wanted to be as a pharmacist. And it actually made me a better pharmacist because I came with a different knowledge.
Right, but also a mindset from like passion, which is something that honestly can make all the difference. Is if you're passionate about what you do, it can make you a better person, a happier person, a better healthcare professional when you change your mindset and find it to like really align with what you like.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, Nabila, what are your plans in terms of your career going forwards? What do you see yourself doing?
I mean, I really love my new role. It's quite new still, so I really enjoy like writing and editing and coming up with content that is written by pharmacists for pharmacists, giving other pharmacists a chance to either share their story or educate pharmacists. So I don't know. I really am happy and content with where I am of my full-time job, but also I'm really passionate about growing Dose of Travel, which is something that obviously has been in the works for years. And I want it to be a platform that for pharmacists, pharmacy students, or for anyone who's thinking about pharmacy to come to and get inspiration to see what opportunities are out there. How I can inspire with, like, similarly to you, I interview other pharmacists who do something unique and non-traditional, or just something that they're really passionate about, even if it is inpatient or retail, because if you're passionate about those things, there's no wrong in that. And so just letting people know what opportunities are out there and that pharmacy is not all bad. There's a lot of good to it. So that's where I'm mostly like really focused on, want that to grow.
Amazing. I just love the fact that, you know, you have created this amazing, you know, early stage career for yourself, and, you know, you are marrying up, you know, all of the skills of a pharmacist alongside, you know, being able to kind of create the content and you know, and that engagement that you want to see with a health tech company, essentially, right? So where in the health tech space, where else do you see pharmacists kind of, you know, fitting in?
Yeah, like you said, I think there's like a lot of growing regions and areas that pharmacists can work. I mean, I think everyone has their own opinion, but obviously the pharmaceutical industry has grown so much. The opportunities there in research and development and regulatory affairs, medical affairs, there's so much need and growth in those industries, especially with everything being accelerated with the pandemic. I know I don't like to bring up the pandemic, but I wonder how it will change pharmacy and what opportunities it will bring. And the industry is something I definitely think about. I think about how CBD, and that has played like a huge role. And now there's psilocybin, where it would just will be legalized in Oregon. They're expected to do it in 2022, I think. Don't quote me, but there's a lot of studies going on there, which will be major for mental health. And will maybe require pharmacists, and it's something that we can educate ourselves kind of to be like ahead of the game, but also just something that we've been used to and kind of see already in our regular day job, like over the counters, like supplements. Like, I don't know about you and how schooling is there, but we get very minimal training. But now, as those consumer products are blowing up and more players are coming into the industry, how can we like safely know what ingredients are in there, recommend them with other medications? Like, that I think is so important, because we're there, we're at the scene. We get to see what patients are purchasing when they come up to pick up prescription medications. And so we can intervene. I think that is a great opportunity. But also in education, like there's a lot of online pharmacies, online like telehealth, telemedicine. What services can pharmacists provide virtually that can be of use, like whether it's medication management virtually, whether it is there's like other brands or companies called AspenRx, which is like an app-based company that is like gig work for pharmacists to do MTM and to get like they get paid through the company. So there's so many different things happening in the health and digital, like health therapeutics, like I guess like wearables and smart pills, like understanding that, like different services. There's just so much out there. It could go on for a really long time.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Nabila. I've really enjoyed talking to you and learning more about your experience and, kind of how you've ended up becoming, the content engagement manager at GoodRx. And I really appreciate you taking this time to talk to us and share this experience with me. So do let everyone know where we can find you. Like if we want to connect with you and learn more about with you, then do drop it in the comments. And if anybody else has got any questions for us, then do drop them in the comments. Any other questions that you guys have, then just pop them in there and more than happy to answer them. And if you don't have any now, then we can always go back and have a look and answer them in the chat later on. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I had a good time talking to you and catching up.
You're welcome. Take care. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.